This week is officially kicking off Summer Game Fest, the sort of replacement for E3 for 2020 and maybe forever. And not only that, but it's kicking off with a bang with the Xbox show that'll demonstrate the first actual gameplay that we should expect to see from this next generation in the Series X and the PS5. One thing this has me thinking though is now that many third-party developers will be putting energy into getting new ambitious games on this powerful new hardware, this is the perfect time for them to hire out studios like Panic Button, Saber Interactive, or honestly, Next Level Games if they would, to bring over the blockbusters from the 8th gen that haven't yet made their way to the Switch. So, based on the technical challenge and the willingness of the rights holder and an occasional other stuff factor, here are the top 10 unlikely games that we want on the Switch, with a few honorable mentions I'll call wild cards chucked in there just for fun. Let's talk about it. Number 10, Dark Souls 3. This one had a couple of rumors swirling about a few years ago, but those aside, it seems like a pretty likely candidate. The technical challenge of this port seems negligible compared to some others that I'll show on this list, but definitely would take some work. This game is published by Bandai Namco though, and all in all, they're one of the more likely companies to bring their games over, as other surprises randomly came to the Switch later, like Dragon Ball FighterZ, God Eater 3, Ni no Kuni Remastered, and of course, Disney Tsum Tsum Festival. And I assume if Dark Souls 3 came, so would too, but as it stands, these are still moderately unlikely. Number 9, Grand Theft Auto 5. Honestly, I'd just like this one to come out so we can stop talking about it, but it certainly belongs on this list. The technical challenge is practically non-existent. Some people would have to be paid to do the ding-dang thing, but it first released on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, so it absolutely could run on the Switch. The problem is with the rights holders. 2K seems to finally be warming up to the Switch as they've had several successes with Civilization 6, the NBA 2K series, and later this month we'll see Borderlands, XCOM 2, and Bioshock collections, but Rockstar is a bit of a wild card. It seems like if it were going to happen, it would have happened by now, but at the same time, it seems inevitable, so we'll just have to wait and see. Number 8, Devil May Cry 5. Capcom has a weird track record with the Switch, and frankly, we'll be seeing them again on this list, but we'll get to that. The technical challenge would not be insignificant, especially as it's quite a good-looking game, but also could fairly easily be pared back and look nice and coherent, ideally without losing its 60 FPS gameplay. Think Bayonetta 2 as a reference point, perhaps. And as I said, Capcom is weird, but not fully unlikely to play ball. Most of their Switch releases are old ports, which is a shame. But with the enhanced Devil May Cry 3 recently, it seems like things are looking up. And for what it's worth, if they're good at doing old ports, DMC 5 will be just that soon enough, so there's hope. Our first honorable mention wildcard is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. With Valhalla recently being shown for the next gen, there's no chance of that coming to the Switch, but older Assassin's Creed games have been showing up. Odyssey and Origins seem to be too new for Ubisoft to want to bother with right now, but they would be nice. It's hard to quantify the viability exactly, so they're just a wild card for now. Number 7, Kingdom Hearts 3. Is it me, or should this not even be on this list? The technical challenge could be very minimal if necessary, considering its art style and gameplay, and Square Enix has been a fantastic supporter of the Switch in general, so it only seems moderately unlikely from their point of view. But who are we kidding? We're talking about flippin' Kingdom Hearts here. This is our first one where other stuff factors in, and this other stuff is pretty nasty. On one hand, it's that it's Kingdom Hearts, and they've handled that franchise in an odd way for decades. Not to mention, they've barely appeared on Nintendo systems, but furthermore, Disney is the other primary rights holder. Even if the graphics could be pared down to run well on Switch, it's possible Disney doesn't want that because they want their characters to look just like they do in the movies, or just they don't want to work with Nintendo. I don't know. It's all weird stuff. Number 6, Resident Evil 2 Remake. This is where we really start to get into that territory of comments like, that could never run on Switch, and so on, except for one game that's still upcoming. And to make it run exactly the same, it would certainly give Resident Evil 2 Remake a fairly high technical challenge score. RE2 Remake has very few loading screens, and when it came out last year, it was one of those, this is the best looking games I've ever seen titles. However, the challenge really would only be in upholding that graphical fidelity. The gameplay itself shouldn't be any kind of challenge, so if Capcom accepts a lower resolution RE2 remake, we could be in business. And again, this is Capcom, so their likeliness to play ball on this is about as precedented as DMC5, so moderate, but not too high. Wildcard number 2. For a lot of reasons, Call of Duty. Note that I didn't even specify which one. I don't even know. The fact that custom Call of Duty games were made for the Wii and Wii U mean that Activision could certainly stray from keeping a one-to-one port mentality to bring it over. But besides Spyro and Crash, they don't seem to know if they want to support the Switch anyway, so only time will tell. And it's not a graphics thing because Call of Duty is on mobile phones, so who's to say? Number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. I bet you were expecting to see this way higher on the list, huh? Well, you know what, me too. There's no two ways around it. As far as technical challenge, this maxes out our scale. It's a recent open world game that totes the graphical prowess of stuff like its reactive horse shrinkage. Yeah, and on top of that is Rockstar, who hasn't even ported GTA 5. Seems ridiculous, right? Well, once again, this is where the other stuff factors in, but instead of making it less likely, I think it actually makes it more. I strongly suspect this could be a game that Nintendo directly chases down to come to the Switch, because like Doom 2016, The Witcher 3, and heck, Crysis Remastered maybe, this would keep the narrative going that the Switch can run that. And that's a sentiment they want to resonate, as it's the first time that that's been said of their consoles in decades. Number 4, Sekiro. Like Call of Duty, another Activision game, and once again, the technical challenge is real. Well, in any case, if Dark Souls 3 would be any kind of challenge, this From Software game from 2 years later would be even more so. And not to mention, Activision still doesn't seem too keen. I think the best chance we have at this is if we do see Dark Souls 3 come over and it does extraordinarily well, and Call of Duty were to also be shown as a worthwhile investment. Maybe then, but all in all, it's not likely, though it would be great. I'd be down to play this one on the go. Okay, one more wildcard before we finish it up with the top 3 unlikely current gen ports to come to the Switch, and honestly, I think number 3 is just dumb, but at least it's honest. Wildcard number 3, and this would truly be the epitome of a wildcard in this conversation, the Master Chief Collection. I'm personally not into shooters, but I would choose this port over several games that I'd actually want for myself just to see the fan reaction. So, in case you don't know why this would be insane, this is a collection of Halo games, and Halo is a Microsoft franchise, and Microsoft makes the Xbox line of consoles, which makes them a blatant rival of Nintendo's, who makes the Switch. It would be like Microsoft releasing Office on Apple product. Yeah, exactly. These two companies have been playing nice for the past few years, and Microsoft published games have even come to Nintendo consoles. But Master Chief is the Mario of Xbox, so it would be crazy. But there is precedent. It's truly a wild card, and much more conversation can be had there, but I'll leave it just be and we'll head into the last 3, starting with the dumb one. Number 3, Persona 5. This is dumb. Not the game. The game looks dope. I just don't have a PS3 or PS4, so I haven't played it yet. But as far as technical challenge, none. It's a PS3 game originally and has incredibly stylized graphics, and with the smallest amount of work of this entire list, this game could run on the Switch. But it's Atlas. This is the same company that announced a Switch exclusive game back in January of 2017, followed by a cinematic trailer in 2018, and we have yet to see anything else for it since. 3 years later. But that score shouldn't earn it number 3 on this list, should it? Well, that's because this one has an other stuff score as well. No one is able to find any kind of mention of an official exclusivity deal for the mainline Persona series to be PlayStation only, but it seems that may be just the case, as a handshake deal or something. It's a no-brainer for the Switch, and Joker's even in Smash, but still seems really unlikely. Number 3. Number 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're back to those technically demanding games, huh? Once again, the game doesn't necessarily need to run with the graphics that it does, but with the amount of time and effort Square Enix put into this game, I can't imagine them wanting to dumb that down at all. There are beautiful vistas, and the whole point of the game is to take something that we'd imagined 20 years ago and bring it into reality. So, technical challenge, all the way. I just don't see it happening without it being streamed or severe changes that Square likely wouldn't want to make. The company, on the other hand, it's still Square. They seem relatively down to work with Nintendo these days, but we've got other stuff again. This is a PlayStation exclusive for 1 year, then it leaked that it's going to PC, but chances are, in my opinions, that's it. Maybe it would come to Xbox, in which case it has a theoretical chance to come to the Switch, technologically aside, but I'm guessing probably not until maybe the whole series is done, though once again, it would be awesome if it did. And number 1, last and in unlikeliness least, and feel free to disagree with any of what I've said by the way in the comments, just be civil about it. Monster Hunter World. This is a beautiful game and is the first Monster Hunter game to buck the trend of load screens between areas when hunting. The monsters are programmed complexly and hitboxes are all over the place. On a technical challenge level, it's pretty high, however, not impossible. Iron Galaxy, the studio that ported Skyrim, Crash Insane Trilogy, and Spyro to the Switch, even stated publicly on Twitter that they could do it. But once again, Capcom is Capcom, meaning it's not super likely for a current gen game to come over, but it's not fully impossible either. So you're probably wondering, what's the other stuff that makes me think this is the least likely wanted game to come to the Switch? And it's twofold, a negative and a positive. On the negative hand, it's the community aspect of the game. It's been supported for almost 2.5 years now, so that community is pretty settled in and high ranking, and could be hard to really get new folks in, even if they actively support it much longer. But the positive reason, I could very well see a new Monster Hunter game with a tie-in Smash character announcement in the next year, probably as a Switch exclusive. It's totally a gut feeling, but adds up to Monster Hunter World being the number 1 least likely wanted current gen games to come to the Switch. But that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below, and while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to fanatixfour for more content like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And check out our podcast for more quality content every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. All right, that's it from me. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.